guys, Josh back here again with you today for another one, and this one that I'm doing here today is another whiskey review. This one is another bourbon that I have here. I went out today and I was going to pick up a rye whiskey, but this one caught my eye, and I had seen this before at a different store that I've shopped at, and they've had it all the time, and then they didn't have it, and at one point when I wanted to get it when I was there, I figured this is my chance to kind of try it out. So I went ahead and picked it up, and that is a budget bourbon, a value bourbon that I've heard good things about as far as the quality of it when the price is concerned. That's the very old Barton Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey from the Bardstown Distilling Company. Bottled by the Bardstown Distilling Company. I believe that it is distilled by the Sazerac Company, I want to say. I think that it's either the Sazerac Company or the Buffalo Trace distillery that actually does the distilling. But it is bottled by the Bardstown, Barton Distilling Company in Frankfort, Kentucky. I think it's distilled in Bardstown, Kentucky. I try to find some enough information. There's not really much. There's some commercial info on this particular whiskey, but nothing that I can find that was crazy definitive. Maybe that's just my own laziness trying to find the information for it. But I think I sort of covered the gist of it. But yeah, this one, very old Barton, is really it is a bottom shelf bourbon. It can go anywhere from, for $7.50, this is the 86 proof one here. They have it in the 80 proof, the 86 proof, the 90 proof, and the bottled and bond 100 proof. This is the only one that they had at this particular store that I found it at. So I wanted to go ahead and get this one. But I have not had the very old Barton, so we'll go ahead and pour out a taste there and give this one a try. Let's go ahead and get into it. With that pour there, you can see it is a kind of a pretty light, sort of golden, kind of pale orange color there. It is leaving some legs on the glass, which is nice, not too crazy with the legs, just a little bit of rimming there around the glass. So let's go ahead and get into the nose on this. And with the nose, I'm getting cinnamon, vanilla, clove, oak, all the kind of just, main notes for a bourbon. Kind of tastes a little, smells a little similar to a like Evan Williams Black Label. Getting a little bit of light fruit, maybe some little bit of apple, maybe a little pear even, but mostly apple. Okay, let's go ahead and go for the flavor on this one. And on the flavor, that apple does come through as well. Almost kind of more of an apple peel, apple skin. Like a red delicious apple skin, like the really dark red, just sort of typical apples you'll find in the grocery store. Kind of that flavor, some bitter apple notes there. But I am getting the vanilla still. I'm getting the oak, heavy on the oak on the finish. Slight baking spices there in the middle of the palate. And about a medium finish on the as far as the longevity of the finish goes, on a kind of medium scale. But lots of oak. I'm getting a good deal of oak on the back end of the palate with this one. With the kind of comparing it to other, I don't really have them with me. I've got probably should maybe do a comparison one day or something like that. But the Ezra Brooks 90 proof, the Evan Williams bottled and bond. This is kind of almost towards the more Evan Williams bottled and bond for me, and those are just the other two kind of favorable budget bourbons that I've had. But this is kind of more towards that. The Ezra Brooks has a very heavy charcoal kind of flavor to it, like a very charred sort of flavor. This is kind of more heavier on the kind of like an oily sort of wood kind of flavor that I'm getting with this as far as the oak goes. This one just has a little bit more of a fruit forward flavor profile with it, at least on the front of the palate. And then the mouthfeel, the body of it, it's fairly light. Little bit of heat. There's a good bit of a astringent alcohol flavor there, but that's never really been a huge detriment to me as far as a spirit goes. It is a lot of alcohol in a spirit, so you may get some alcohol flavor, especially if you're paying, on the more less expensive side of things with it. But overall, this is actually pretty damn good, especially taking into account that I got this for $11.48 after tax, or that being the tax included. So I really could not say that this is bad at all for that price. It's cheaper than I would get for the Ezra Brooks, cheaper than I would get for the Evan Williams bottled and bond. I couldn't really say without having a side-to-side, though, with those other two. Again, being the other two I really go for the most as far as the less expensive, really affordable whiskeys go, bourbon whiskeys go. I would have to have a side-by-side, but really this stands up right with the Evan Williams bottled and bond, the Ezra Brooks that I usually get. It's fine, neat. It is 86 proof, so I'm sure it could stand up at least for a little bit of time to a nice ice cube, and I see no problem with it being used in different cocktails as well. So yeah, really actually is a very solid bourbon. If I am ever pinched for cash or anything like that, this would be a very easy one to go for. I know that it is not available everywhere. I think some people have a hard time really getting a hold of it. I'm lucky enough that the store right next to where I live seems to have a pretty good stock of it, in fifths at least. But if you do see it, I would recommend checking it out. I think I've also heard that this is the same base whiskey that is used to produce the 1742, I think 1792 bourbon line. So yeah, you can see where it would get this the kind of character to be a very solid, cheap bourbon. Which it does kind of have that bottle, which sort of tells you that it might not be worth it. But I would tell you, as far as cheap bourbon goes, definitely worth it. Would recommend checking it out if you do see it. Very old Barton by the Barton Distilling Company, now owned by Sazerac. So yeah, definitely check it out if you see it. And until next time, guys, thank you for watching.